Hello and welcome to Fox 29's News Now. I'm going to start off, it's election day. Right now Nancy Pelosi is with U.S. Representative Ben Ray Lujan with election day remarks. So here is a live picture of that right now.
End of the closing days in Alaska to defend Don Young's seat. And just as shockingly, Republicans cut off incumbents. Early on, the NRCC cut money from Kaufman out in the 6th District of Colorado, as well as Kevin Yoder in the 3rd District of Kansas, and they moved $1.5 million over to defend a seat that Secretary Clinton won by over 20%, with over 20 points down in Florida, 27. So look, the battlefield grew from the beginning, 59 districts in 2017, all the way to 111 by June of 2018. We're going to continue to be aggressive in all that we do, and here's the proof. We've invested in over 85 districts, as I said, to begin with. Female candidates, over $63 million of investment from the DCCC this year. Candidates of color, over $39 million of investments in those races. Veteran candidates, over $25 million of investments as well as we close out. And just remember this as I turn this over to Leader Pelosi. Defining the Republicans' attack on the repeal of the Affordable Care Act began in the House, and our caucus stood strong. Also defining the Republican tax scam, that began in the House. And we're continuing to see how our candidates have been standing so strong across America. And I've been very proud to be able to work with our colleagues in this endeavor. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Leader Pelosi and look forward to the questions. Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your extraordinary leadership. What you have of mobilization and the standpoint of money and the standpoint of messaging. Your management, that's alliterative, all these M's, that your management of it all is just a tour de force. I congratulate you on that, and our success today will be a reflection of the meticulous leadership that you have demonstrated. And you ended on the note of health care. This is the issue that is on the ballot. This election is about health care. As the chairman indicated, congressional Democrats created our own environment on this issue because it is so important, the health issue, to not only the health, but also the financial security of America's working families. The day after the election, 2 years ago, that would be 2 years from tomorrow, we didn't agonize, we organized. We went right to work in saying, how do we preserve the Affordable Care Act from the assault we know it will receive? By that Sunday, all of the grassroots mobilizing organizations were on the phone with us. Whatever our point of view on other issues, we understood that we had to work together to save the Affordable Care Act. At that time, we made a plan that would be launched on Martin Luther King weekend. It was, and then a couple of days later, the president is inaugurated. Day after that, the Women's March, much of it about health care, women's health, reproductive health, and the rest. So just continuing that drumbeat. Over the course of the next 18 months, the congressional Democrats, House and Senate, voted time and time again, 100% in the House against the president, Trump care, or Trump I don't care, whatever you want to label that. Over and over again, 100% against the tax scam, a tax scam that did serious damage to the Affordable Care Act, and that they're using as a basis to eliminate the pre-existing condition benefit. It's shameful. What's shameful about it is they're going around the country misrepresenting and presenting falsehoods that they're really there for the pre-existing condition, when in fact they have the case against it. The Republican attorneys general are making the case against, and the administration is joining them in that lawsuit. So again, what's on the ballot is the good health of the American people, and that means also their financial health as well. Don't take it from me. Just look at what Mitch McConnell said. Mitch McConnell said that Medicare were on the chopping block. So if you take the increase in premiums springing from the Trump assault on the Affordable Care Act, if you take his refusal to insist that the Secretary negotiate for lower prescription drug prices, if you take their assault on Medicare and Medicaid, if you take their assault on, again, the pre-existing condition, the list goes on. And it's not just in legislation that relates to health directly, but in the tax scam, which did serious damage to the individual mandate. So more than you might want to know on the subject, but that is what is on the ballot. So I'm very happy to salute congressional Democrats, House and Senate, for making our own environment on this issue. Some of you have asked me, how come health care has emerged as such a big issue? We made our own environment to make sure people knew the difference between Democrats and Republicans on this subject and what was at stake for them in their health and financial well-being. In addition to that, I want to salute the outside groups. Without the outside mobilization, our inside maneuvering would not have been as effective. But all of the groups that you can imagine, HCAM, Protect Our Care, the list goes on and on, some specifically to health care, others in coalition on the health care issue because of a fairness and a values issue for us. The outside groups were, well, let me just put it in numbers, as the chairman has, 10,000 events to protect our care in the course of the time that this debate was going on and during the Trump attempts to undermine the good health of the American people. 10,000 events, people telling their stories. The statistics are staggering, but the stories are eloquent and convincing. And that helped to preserve certain elements of the Affordable Care Act as well as the Affordable Care Act itself. It still stands, and that is on the ballot. Your health, the American people's health is on the ballot. So what are Democrats for? That's on the ballot. We are for the people. Lowering health care costs by reducing the cost of prescription drugs, bigger paychecks by building the infrastructure of America, and again, bringing integrity to government by reducing the role of big, dark money in politics, instead going to a place that rewards and recognizes the role of small donors to our party. We have legislative proposals for all of that, but that is our for the people agenda. And when we win, and the chairman has said we will win, and I agree with that, when we win on the opening day, our Democratic Congress will be open and transparent so people can see the impact of legislation on their lives and weigh in on the decisions. It will strive for bipartisanship because we have a responsibility to find common ground where we can, stand our ground where we can't, but we have to try. And it will honor the vows of our founders. Their guidance was e pluribus unum, from many one. From many one. We couldn't imagine how many we would be or how different we'd be from each other, but they knew we had to strive for oneness. So when we talk about the health care bill, we always talk about our founders in the Declaration saying life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those were their goals, they're our goals. But we also not only have to be inspired by those values, we have to follow their guidance, e pluribus unum, from any one. So our priorities we will address will be those that strive to bring people together and not to divide. And in this election, the drumbeat that you hear across America is about people voting, the echo chamber of people voting all over the country to weigh in. Martin Luther King said, the ballot, legislation, your life. See the relationship with what happens at the ballot box, what happens in legislation, and how it affects you. People are seeing that more clearly. I do think that it's important to note that the integrity of elections is, I'm going to defer to the chairman to talk about what we're doing there, but because we have concerns about it, does not mean that people shouldn't go out there and vote. Do not let their scare tactics frighten you away from the polls. It's a technique, but it's not something that our founders would approve of. And with that, I'm going to defer back with great appreciation to our chairman to talk about the integrity of the elections and what we're doing about it.
What I would just add about that as we open this up to questions as well is, one, we have a robust legal strategy associated with making sure that we're protecting the integrity of the voting process all across America. And just remember this, America's always embraced peaceful transition of power. And that is not going to change. So I'm confident not just with the work that we are doing, but what we're hearing from allied organizations across America with the goal of making sure that we're ensuring that every vote will be counted and that we will protect the integrity of the process. So with that, Meredith, did you want to open this up?
We have time for a few questions.
Speaker, I'm sorry, Leader. Could I ask you, you seem to express a great deal of confidence, not repeatedly saying when you win. Are you 100% sure of victory tonight in your mind?
Yes, I am, and let me just say why. As I travel across the country, I listen to the VIPs, the volunteers in politics, all the people who are knocking on doors, making calls and the rest. And I say to them, every step you take, every door you knock, every call you make, every sign you plant, every postcard you send, all of that can make the difference. Because these are individual races will be close. And the outpouring of mobilization by various groups, all working together, springs from the quality of our candidates. They're inspired by our candidates, and that's why they're getting out to vote. And our candidates know their why. They know why they are running. They know what they care about and can speak to it. They know how to communicate with the constituents as to how to represent them authentically. And again, the quality of our candidates, and thank you for the tremendous recruitment. Now, some of these people self-recruited, but the path to victory is something that we work together on. So because of the quality of our candidates, which inspires a tremendous grassroots operation, and you heard the chairman's statistics, I feel confident that we will win. It's just a question of what the size of the victory is. Now, when people ask me, how is it a wave or a tsunami, I said all of those are drops of water. These races are very close across the country. Our chairman has said that the whole election could go on 25,000 votes, 500 here, 600 here. So that's why I say every step you take, every call you make. And it will be many drops of water. How many? A victory. How many more? A wave. How many more? A tsunami.
Should the administration fear Democratic control of the House? Should the president fear anything that the Democrats will do if they get control of the House?
Well, do you want him to have a second question? I mean, that's up to you.
Well, with that confidence in mind, what would you say? People are going to be voting the other way. What is your message to the people who don't come out to vote Democratic, vote the other way? How do you reconcile running the country?
As I said, and maybe I wasn't as clear as I should have been, we are not going after the Republicans the way they went after us. We are not they. We are the Democrats. And the Democrats will have an open, transparent Congress that will strive for bipartisanship and that will honor the vows of our founders to strive for unity. And that is our message to them. We respect everyone who votes because that's a responsibility everyone has. I respect my colleagues and the people who voted for them, but the fact is that in their interest, in the interest of everyone participating in the full prosperity of our country, we have to win this election.
Leader Pelosi, if you were to win the majority, what would be the actual first legislative priority that you would have? And secondarily, are you at all concerned, because of the rhetoric of this campaign, in dealing with President Trump? I mean, what are your concerns with having a majority and also dealing with a president who has been relentless in going against you and dividing the country against you?
Before I answer that, I want to defer to my chairman for the previous question. Did you have anything you wanted to say on that, Mr. Chairman?
I would just simply remind everyone of what our colleagues have committed to. We have been very clear with the American people, as have our candidates, that coming out of 2018, if we're fortunate to hold the majority, which I believe and know we will move very aggressively on lowering the cost of healthcare and prescription drug prices, a robust infrastructure package, and cleaning up Washington, D.C. when it comes to outside money, gerrymandering, and more disclosure and transparency. Now, each and every one of those...
And I just want to do a quick switch over here to Andrew Gillum in Tallahassee, Florida. He's a candidate, and he is voting right now, and this is him speaking.
And what's right and what's common between all of us. We'll worry about history later, but today we're working to win.
Mayor Gillum, this has been a nasty race. Are you worried that the allegations of racism against your opponent, allegations of corruption against you, have overshadowed the issues that matter to people in Florida?
Well, I tell you, all the way along, we tried to talk about the issues that matter to people. I am extremely proud of the campaign focused on expanding access to health care, paying teachers what they're worth, leaning into the green economy. We've really, at every turn, in spite of all the distractions, have tried to keep voters in this state focused on what matters. I believe that that is what is going to allow us to walk away with a win today. And I'm looking forward to then turning around and going back to those voters whose votes I didn't get and letting them know that I plan to be a governor for them too. Thank you very much. We'll hopefully see you later.
He's an American politician who has served as mayor of Tallahassee, Florida since 2014. He's a Democratic nominee for governor of Florida in the 2018 election. And now we'll just go back over to Nancy Pelosi as she wraps things up.
For the people agenda about health care and jobs and integrity in government as a predicate. Let me just say this, and this is one thing we're hearing from all the groups around the country. When people believe that there will be integrity in government, that you reduce the role of dark special interest money, that everyone's voice will be heard and not weighed heavily, and that, of course, if they believe then that we can make a difference, that we can pass gun safety because we're not dominated by the NRA, that we can pass environmental protections because we're not dominated by any industry money in that regard. It caffeinates everything else that we do. People believe that their interest will be served, the people's interest will be served, and not the special interest being served.
Okay, let's go to Dan.
Hi there. You said you're 100% confident that you'll win the majority tonight. You were also, I would imagine, 100% confident that Hillary Clinton was going to be president 2 years ago. So I'm wondering if you've entertained the idea that Democrats won't take the majority and how you've reconciled that.
Well, I think there are two different elections. This was a presidential election, which Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote, I remind, but she didn't win the White House, and I didn't think she would win. I knew she was going to win, as just as Dan indicated. This is different, that we are one district at a time. This is very discreet. And we're making a judgment about one district at a time, where really the popular vote rules. It doesn't have to be subjected to the Electoral College. The popular vote rules. And so I feel very, very confident. And one other point, just for you, when I'm listening to the grassroots people around the country, our VIPs, they say it's different from before. There's no ambiguity. Democrats are going out to vote. They're not saying, well, one thing, no ambiguity. They're going out to vote. They're even winning over some independents in all of this. They even think they're winning Republicans. I wouldn't take that to the bank, but I do think that that anecdotally people are hearing from Republicans that they're going to vote Democratic for the first time. But I'm not counting on that.
Have you personally entertained that idea, though? The idea that the Democrats might not win?
Well, we start with one vote. You know, we start with our definite districts, and we add one district at a time. We don't assume from the start that we've won, now let's cut back. We start one district at a time. And, I 1 week ago, I first said, but you said before me, 2 days before me, we're going to win based on data.
Let me just give you a couple of proof points as well in some of the swing districts across America. So I got these numbers right before I came down. What's normal is 50 to 80,000 doors knocked in GOTV weekend, including Election Day. So just remember that the numbers I'm going to give you do not include Election Day. 50 to 80,000 is normal. Illinois 6 in Sean Castan's district, 100,000 doors knocked already, not including the Election Day through GOTV weekend. Texas 32, 105,000 doors. New Jersey 7, 120,000 doors. Maine 2, 104,000 doors. New York 19, 175,000 doors. Virginia 7, 131,000 doors. California 25, 200,000 doors. California 10, 200,000 doors. So when we see the level of participation across America, it is encouraging. Max Rose on Staten Island had so many volunteers that they lined up across the island, almost one person per door that needed to be knocked on Saturday morning. So that's the enthusiasm that we're seeing, the grassroots participation starting from the Women's March. No one suggested that that energy would continue even through the week, through the month, through the summer. And we've continued to see people gather across the country, and that's the energy that we're seeing and the confidence that both the leader and I have in Democrats securing the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives.
And then I just want to add our young people marching for their lives now, voting for their lives on all of this. This is something that is more than this election. It's not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about the United States of America. It's about honoring the vows of our founders and what they sacrificed so much for in their vision. It's about honoring the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform to protect our freedom, make us the land of the free and home of the brave. It's about the aspirations of our children, and people know that. And they're getting out there. Now, I just want to add some of the anecdotal, as I say, the plural of anecdote is not data, but it's illustrative, that some of the campaigns have reported to me the last couple of days, and I'm sure to the chairman as well, that they have so many volunteers, and they do not, you never want to turn a volunteer away, that they're double teaming, and across the country. So the enthusiasm that people have, again, not agonizing but organizing, is going to produce the victory.
Last question. Thank you. Leader Pelosi, if Democrats win the House today, are you confident that you will be Speaker, and does that hinge at all on the results of today?
I'm not going to answer any questions. We'll talk tomorrow. But right now, today, every second is about winning this election, and that's what's important. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question.
Leader. The leader asked me to make sure that you all understood what was in front of me here. So this is the battlefield, as you can imagine. And so what we have here is essentially, I don't know if you can see these panned out. These are the districts that we're playing in across America. Every one of these has a path to victory in every district across the country, what performance is, what investments have been, and how we're able to get this done.
Every given page is
So there's 111 districts in this binder. There's over 85 that we've invested in now. And as you look into, I can't give away my playbook so that Steve takes a peek here, because we're still a few hours away from these polls closing. But just so you get an idea of the kind of work that we're doing. This binder has not been this thick in over a decade. And there's a reason why I'm confident that our strategy, which was built on many paths to the majority, was the right decision. And again, in investing over 3 times the number of districts that we need to secure the majority is why I believe we will win. And again, don't forget about our candidates. This strategy was built and anchored around our candidates. Records of service, so many that have served in the military, now veterans, former CIA officers, FBI agents, prosecutors, all records of service across America. And you look at the failed Republican playbook, they don't know how to run ads or how to run a campaign against our candidates. It's why they're running these slanderous ads across America, but our candidates are connecting in a very inspiring way. And that's why I have so much belief and hope in what's going to be accomplished tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that presentation of this book. This is the playbook. It's not the game plan. The after the election, I think that people, if you read these pages, you will see a game plan for success. So again,
so we brought it in here. You all could have taken a look at it before I got here, but not now that I'm leaving. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming out today.
Once again, that was Nancy Pelosi with U.S. Representative Ben Ray Lujan with Election Day remarks. Well, make sure you pack an umbrella before you head to the polls today, as scattered showers and storms are expected to drench the area throughout the day. The morning was off to a foggy start for most of the area, but expect the majority of today's rainfall to fall midday. A cold front moving through the area will also bring a chance of thunderstorms, especially in the southern parts of our area, including South Jersey and Delaware. Temperatures will be milder today with a high of 68 degrees, but will start to cool back off Wednesday and into Thursday. And here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Well, Pennsylvania voters are in the middle of the national political picture as they prepare to cast ballots in Tuesday's election. The decisions they'll make Tuesday could affect control of Congress and the future of President Donald Trump's agenda. In the legislature, all 203 House seats are up, along with 25 Senate seats. Republicans have commanding majorities in both chambers. This is all you need to know for our Pennsylvania elections. As far as governor, Democratic Governor Tom Wolf is running for a second term against Republican Scott Wagner, a state senator from York County who has made millions in the waste hauling industry. Wagner served 4 years in the state Senate before resigning in June. In the U.S. Senate, four-term Republican U.S. Representative Lou Barletta is seeking unseat second-term Democratic U.S. Senator Bob Casey in Pennsylvania. Casey is one of the 10 Democratic senators running for re-election in states won by President Donald Trump in the 2016 election. He is backed by labor unions, gay rights organizations, and environmental advocacy groups. Barletta, the former mayor of Hazleton in northeastern Pennsylvania, is backed by business trade associations and anti-abortion groups. In the U.S. House, the most open seats in decades, 7, and redrawn district boundaries are combining to create more competitive races than usual. The state Supreme Court in January threw out the congressional district map Republicans drew in 2011, ruling in gerrymandering case that it was unconstitutionally drawn to give Republicans an advantage. Races in Tuesday's election are being held within new boundaries drawn by the court's Democratic majority. Under the 2011 map, Republicans won 13 of 18 seats in 3 straight elections, even as Democrats dominated in statewide elections. Now, Republicans are expected to lose 3 open seats around Philadelphia and Allentown. Incumbent Republicans are in close races, including freshman Brian Fitzpatrick in suburban Philadelphia, 3-term Scott Perry in South Central Pennsylvania, and 3-term Keith Rothfuss in suburban Pittsburgh. 4-term Mike Kelly in northwestern Pennsylvania and freshman Lloyd Smucker in south central Pennsylvania are all under pressure in districts won heavily by Trump. Third-party groups have spent more than $19 million on the races to federal campaign finance records. Visit fox29philly.com for all your voter information and resources. We have a site up right now. It's fox29.com/youdecide. You check that out. You'll have all this information and more. Many heated races are being held here in the region. One of the most expensive is said to be right here in Pennsylvania, the race for the 1st District. Lauren Johnson was live in Jamestown, PA.
This is an impressive turnout here. A lot of people showed up. They were lined up before the doors even opened at 7 a.m. And we're seeing them wait in this nasty, wet weather to make sure their voices are heard. The Democrats trying to take back the House in the midterm elections. And one race to help them get there, Scott Wallace versus Brian Fitzpatrick. The 1st congressional district race represents Bucks County and a sliver of Montgomery County. And all eyes are really on this race around the nation. Both candidates doing everything they could leading up to today's vote to appeal to voters in the swing district. Analysts say this race is really a true toss-up. Incumbent Brian Fitzpatrick has established himself as a moderate Republican. He shies away from party labels, but his opponent is sure to lay on the labels and point out his ties to the Republican Party. But Fitzpatrick has strayed away from Trump on key issues, including health care, immigration, and climate change. On the other side, Wallace, a self-proclaimed patriotic millionaire, is from Bucks County, and he's trying to turn the tide. He and his wife, a former U.S. diplomat, have worked on his family's foundation for the past 15 years. His family has a history of public service. Wallace using his wealth to fund his campaign. Fitzpatrick says he has name recognition to propel his. In the days leading up to Election Day, the polls say Fitzpatrick had a slight margin, very small. It was just 1 point. But analysts say it really just depends on which base of voters shows up here at the polls. And as you can see here in Bucks County, they are doing just that, exercising their civic duty to make sure their voices are heard. So we will have to wait and see what happens when the numbers start coming in tonight.
Well, we already know it's going to be a busy day at the polls today for midterm elections. Doug Luzader in Washington, D.C. spoke to Fox 29 Good Day this morning with more.
Doug Luzader, this is one of the busiest days of his life. Oh, it's teeming with excitement at your polling place.
Yeah, you know, it was earlier. There was a line to get in here very early on before they opened the doors. It's since dissipated, but it's been kind of a steady flow. And what they're telling us here is that they're not seeing the same kind of lines that they saw during the presidential election. That's not really a shock. I mean, you can still have pretty high midterm turnout, and we'll see whether the Democrats are able to turn talk of a blue wave into action today. Mail-in ballots in Washington state moving at a pace they haven't seen in recent years for a midterm election.
Right now on hand, we already have about 620,000 ballots in the building. That's almost double what we had in 2014 and 2010.
A lot of interest and a lot of miles on Air Force One over the past week as President Trump has hopscotched from one state to another. His third and final rally just yesterday was in Missouri, where Republicans could pick up a Senate seat and possibly expand their majority. The president warning of a Democratic takeover.
You know what's happening, and your taxes are going to triple, maybe quadruple. You're not going to be happy. I know you will.
For the White House, this appears to be part of a calculated strategy to, at the very least, save the Senate.
The president's strategy, the places he's gone, tells me something. The White House doesn't expect to hold the House. And where they're going seems to be focused on firing up voters in states where he can keep the Senate.
The House, though, is a different story. We see 207 seats there as being either likely or leaning Democrat. 199 are likely or leaning Republican.
That leaves 29 toss-ups that will determine which party wins control. And in gubernatorial races, where Republicans have long held an advantage, we're seeing a number of toss-ups heading into today's vote.
A number of toss-ups, but, you know, the usual rules of politics also still apply, which is why we're keeping a close eye on the weather. As you know, a lot of rain up and down the East Coast, and that can have an impact on turnout. Back to you guys.
For sure.
Yeah, but we are proud to say, though, in some parts of our area, we've seen people stand out in the rain with their umbrellas.
That's for sure. Long lines here already, Doug. Thank you. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Here is a live look at some voting going on in Miami, Florida. Well, Election Day is not a national holiday in the United States, but should it be? That is the question posed recently. It's not a national holiday, but some say it should be. Most states have laws in place to guarantee time for their employees to go to the polls, but there is certainly no federal law that mandates time off for voting, at least not yet. The calls to vote and story after story about low voter turnout aren't new. But when compared with voter turnout numbers in other places around the world, the percentage of potential voters who actually cast a ballot in the United States may surprise you. According to the Pew Research Center, voter turnout in the United States trails that seen in most developed countries. In fact, according to the Pew Research data, less than 56% of the estimated voting age population in the United States voted in 2016 presidential election. According to the Associated Press, turnout in 2014 was only about 36%, which is considered low even for a midterm. The U.S. Census Bureau surveyed non-voters about the 2008 and 2012 presidential elections, among others, according to a story published Monday by Business Insider. The report says the most common reasons given by non-voters who didn't cast a ballot were that they were too busy or had a work schedule conflict. It would take an act of Congress to make Election Day a national holiday, something Senator Bernie Sanders has set out to do. Sanders has proposed a bill designating Democracy Day as a national election holiday in an effort to make voting easier for Americans to do. He said, In America, we should be celebrating our democracy and doing everything possible to make it easier for people to participate in the political process. Election Day should be a national holiday so that everyone has the time and opportunity to vote. While this would not be a cure-all, it would indicate a national commitment to create a more vibrant democracy. On the other hand, some argue voters already have ample options to vote that don't involve showing up at the polls on Election Day. In 37 states where early voting is offered, Americans can vote in person before Election Day. In addition, 27 states and the District of Columbia allow voters to request absentee ballots without an excuse, allowing them to vote by mail. If early voting totals are any indication, there could be a higher turnout come Tuesday. As of Saturday, the Associated Press reported more than 30 million Americans had cast their ballots early, with at least 28 states having surpassed their 2014 early votes. For perspective, the early vote total in 2014 midterms was 28.3 million, and over 83 million people voted in the election overall. Some states were even approaching their early voting turnout in 2016 presidential election. Once again, this is just a live look at some voters down in Miami, Florida, where they will be selecting the nominees for governor, agriculture, commissioner, attorney general, and several congressional seats. Well, after conducting a year-long search for a second home, Amazon is planning to split their headquarters in two different locations. Tracy Carrasco spoke with Fox 29 Good Day with more on that.
All right, did they make the decision or not, Amazon?
Well, it sounds like they've pretty much made it, Tracy. And, because I know we mentioned this yesterday, but now they want to do 2 locations?
You're talking about the new headquarters,
Yeah.
second headquarters?
Yep. Yeah, apparently maybe the 2 in HQ2 stands for 2 different places, but this is kind of an interesting twist. I didn't see this one coming. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that now Amazon wants to evenly split up its second headquarters. So instead of picking just one city, they would pick 2 cities. The decision reportedly to allow Amazon to get the best of the tech talent, also alleviate any potential problems with housing, transportation,
No, it makes sense
any
to me.
issues that might arise when you bring that many more people into a city. So they would split up the workforce, 25,000 people in each city. Of course, this still the top contenders they're looking at. We're hearing New York City, Dallas, and Northern Virginia's Crystal City. So
Okay, I heard it was
we'll
down to
wait for the
basically-
announcement.
Yeah, Crystal City, which is what they want to be close to big airports. So you got Dulles there
Yeah.
for them, and then I
Yeah.
understood it was going to be Queens next, close to JFK.
Long Island City, yeah, that's what I heard as well. So we'll
Island
see.
City.
I wouldn't be surprised if those were the 2 that they ended up with.
Well, Long Island City's so congested. It's right there on the East River by the Queensboro Bridge.
It is, but as you said, they're close to the airports, also still close to Manhattan.
Yeah.
So they do have, I know that they're, well, all of New York City, they're building a ton.
I know.
So of high-rises, buildings like that. So maybe that's a good spot. I don't know.
It seems to me that they would want a lot of space, so these gigantic buildings to house the stuff.
Yeah, right. So you can spread it all out.
Great.
I guess it's about location, location, location.
I guess. See you tomorrow, Tracy.
That is
Thank
true.
you.
A horrible loss turns into an honorable tradition. How a local woman continues her mom's Alzheimer's fight a year after she passed away from the disease. Mike and Alex spoke with Carissa Jennings this morning.
Well, 12 years after being diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, Candace passed away last year at the age of 67. Her daughter, Carissa, says she will always be thankful for the last moments spent with her mom, smiling and laughing. Carissa says her mom was a scary movie lover, a disco dancer, a green thumb gardener, and a glamour shot queen. Look at her. She's fabulous. And Carissa just got married, and she was walking down the aisle wearing purple sneakers and holding a bouquet with a picture of her mom on a charm. You can see it right there. So you can tell her mother was very special to her. So this Saturday, she's going to be taking part in her 10th Walk to End Alzheimer's at Citizens Bank Park, which Fox 29 is a very proud sponsor of. So Carissa is here along with her new husband, Mike.
You're a little nervous, right?
A little,
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, Carissa. How long you been married now, you two?
About 2 weeks.
How's it going?
It's going good.
It's going good for 2 weeks.
Tell us more about your mom. Dancing. It sounds like she loved life.
She loved everyone. She was nice to everyone she ever met. It's funny because she was actually in home care most of her life, caring for people, and she had to quit when she started forgetting things, and she didn't understand why. She just wanted to take care of people and didn't understand now people need to take care of her.
But she had to go to a nursing home by the time she was 63?
Yeah, 63.
When did you first notice that you were losing her to Alzheimer's disease?
I was in about 8th or 9th grade, and she started forgetting things or saying the wrong name for things. Like she would call like a clothespin an airplane, and then she would be like, I don't know why I said that. And then I know some people like realize they have Alzheimer's.
Did she?
No.
She didn't know?
It went so fast that she didn't know. I don't know if it had to do with her being so young, but it went so fast that one day she just knew something's weird with my brain, and then the next, she didn't know she was sick, so she didn't know she couldn't do things anymore.
And it sounds like things really got hard after she went to the home, because you said the next year, I mean, she didn't recognize you?
Yeah, we went to visit her, quite frequently. In the beginning, it was hard because she still knew who we were. And I hate to say it, but it was kind of a relief when she didn't know who we were anymore, because then she wouldn't cry and ask us to take her home. She didn't understand that we couldn't care for her, because it was like caring for a child. You can't even turn your back for a minute, go to the bathroom without
Yeah.
her, running out of the house or something.
And what was that like for you, seeing your mother kind of switch like that, where she didn't know who you were and she needed all this care? How hard was that?
It was pretty hard. It was Mother's Day, actually, of the following year after she had to go to the nursing home, that I walked in and she just stared at me, and I didn't say, "Who am I?" because you're not really supposed to quiz. It's not. It's hard on them.
Yeah.
So she just stared at me, and I knew she didn't. She looked to the next person in the room, the next person, and I knew she didn't know who I was.
I can't even imagine when your mom doesn't even know your name. Did anybody prepare you for this? Could you be prepared for that moment?
No, because when you're so young, people talk about Alzheimer's, they always think it's elderly people or it's part of aging. It's not part of aging. It's something completely separate. And so I had no idea what was going to happen, and it's not like any of my friends had experienced this because I'm so young. So you just take it one day at a time and try to make her laugh and just bring back good times.
The little things you do.
Mike, have you known each other long enough to see this whole thing happen?
Yeah, she was still living at home
Yeah.
when we got together. And
How about your wife? You picked a good one here. She seems
I think so.
strong.
yeah, she's very strong.
So what made you want to be a part of the Walked In Alzheimer's? Because 10 years for you. So what was it like when you first decided to be a part of it?
When I first decided to be a part of it, I was a freshman in college, and I just said, hey, last minute, a couple friends, do you guys want to go do the walk? And then we only raised $100 that year, but then every year after that, as my mom got worse, I just wanted to work harder and harder.
Do you have a support team this year?
Of course.
Let's bring them in. Let's come on, everybody. So when
come with the bells on.
Cowbells. Slide in right here. Come on in here. So introduce everybody.
This is Eileen, my mother-in-law.
Hi, Eileen.
And this is Stephanie, my sister-in-law.
Hello.
And this is Keely from the walk.
So Mike, you're well represented.
I am. I brought everybody.
Why do you want to support?
Just because she's great and it's a big cause.
Yeah. So it gets bigger and bigger every year. We're expecting a big crowd out there, and Sue said the weather's going to be decent. How much money do you think you've raised over the years?
I think we're over 10,000 by now. Every year we're trying to get, because there was the Champions Club 500 and Grand Champions 1,000. Now every year we seem to be getting about like 2,000, 2,500 in 10 years. So.
And having gone to the walk and seeing it, how did it feel for you guys to see when you're going through this and you know it's your family struggle and what you went with your mother, and then to see so many people have similar stories and they've been through similar things? How does it feel to all come together on a day like Saturday?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I thought it would be a sad day, but it's actually not. It's happy because you can feel that everyone has the same experience as you, and you're all just there supporting each other, even though you don't know each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I had people come up to me and thank me. Just to know me.
And there's lots of hugs.
Yeah.
Remember this face. Remember this face right here, and go up and say hello to her Saturday, and maybe take a picture with this around your face. Okay. We'll see you out there Saturday.
See you Saturday.
Okay.
All right.
And plus, I think you get to walk around Citizens Bank Park afterwards. It's really cool. We'll take a quick break. Come right back.
Well, thank you for watching Fox 29 News Now on this rainy election day. For all the coverage you need and a list of your voting resources, visit our website at fox29.com. We have a voting site up at fox29.com/youdecide. For the latest and breaking news, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and join us tonight at 5, 6, 10, and 11.